Today I'm going to be ranking every hero in Flesh and Blood from my favorite to my least favorite. Hello and welcome to the table, and hey, I hope you all enjoy this video. Happy 5th birthday to Flesh and Blood. The day that this video comes out will be the 5th anniversary of Flesh and Blood. Leave a comment down below giving me your list as to ranking your heroes from favorite to least favorite, what's your favorite deck, and all that good stuff, and just celebrating 5 years of Flesh and Blood. So getting into the tier list, S tier is going to be my favorite decks in the game. I love them more than anything else in the world. A tier is going to be decks that I love to play. B tier is going to be decks that I don't have built or I'm wanting to build really badly. C tier is going to be decks that I might build one day. And then D tier is going to be like, you won't catch me dead building these decks. So let's get into things, starting off with my favorite hero in Welcome to Rathe, the first Flesh and Blood set, Dorinthia Ironson. I love Dorinthia. She's just such an amazing leader. I just love it. I love everything about her deck. She's not my favorite warrior in the game, but I just love the class. I love the style. Just like, come in with your weapon, buff it to the moon, and just one massive bang swing on the opponent, and just being just an all-round amazing deck. So yeah. Then getting past Dorinthia, I got Rhinar, Reckless Rampage, who honestly I'd put in B tier. He is my favorite brute in the game. He's the most interesting brute in the game, in my opinion. And I like his deck because he's the least kind of, like, high-rolly of the brutes in a sense. Because, I mean, yes, while Intimidate is a very RNG kind of, like, luck-based mechanic, it does still offer some incredible disruption, which is nothing to scoff at. So, I don't know. I just like Rhinar, and I like the brute class. It's not my favorite class in the game, but I still like the class. And Rhinar is definitely one of my more favorite brutes that I might wind up building a deck for down the road. Then there's Bravo, who I love the Guardian class a ton. I just love one big, massive deck that just wanting to set up and then bang, big smack of damage. And Bravo does that in a sense, kind of like with Dorinthia, but it's not exactly like Dorinthia because it doesn't care about the weapon as much. It's just one big, massive, disruptive attack. But, I mean, I like Guardians and I like Bravo and I like the whole Dominate, again, setup side. But I just feel like there's a lot more decks out there that I can get that from that aren't Bravo, like Dorinthia. Dorinthia is just a more fun version of that in my, like, what I'd want to do for Bravo. I like Dorinthia's version of doing that better, and I just feel like Dorinthia does it better. So, yeah. Then, finally, there is the last hero from Welcome to Rathe, Katsu, who is in D tier. I don't really like ninjas. I'm not a huge aggressive fan. I am fine going super wide and just forcing my opponent to, like, question and, like, well, what should I block with and stuff like that. I like a go-wide strategy sometimes, but I don't like super aggressive strategies. I'm a much bigger fan of mid-rangey strategies and every now and then a good control deck. But aggressive decks, I've never really been a huge fan of, except when I originally got into trading card games. And Katsu, while he's a very fun deck and not nearly as aggressive as most ninjas, I still don't really like that style of deck, and I just don't really like Katsu as a deck. So, there you go. Then getting to Arcane Rising, I got Azalea, ace in the hole, who is in A tier. I love Azalea. I love her characters. I love Rangers. Rangers are one of my favorite classes in the game because they're just so freaking cool. I just love, like, one big ranged attack. As you can probably tell at this point, if you've never watched my channel before and my Flesh and Blood videos before, I love go big. I just want to do big, stupid, explosive thing. And Azalea can offer me that with some stupidly broken disruption. Sure, she doesn't block as well as I wish she could, which is why Rangers aren't my favorite class, because they don't block super well. But I still like Azalea for the fact to just go big. So, yeah, there you go. Then there is Dash. Dash I actually really love. I love the Mechanologist class, I just don't really play it enough. But I like the whole setup side. And there's something about items. In Magic the Gathering, artifacts are one of my favorite archetypes. And in Flesh and Blood, items are a basically similar version of that. And it's just a lot of fun to kind of just turn your deck into a toolbox and build around one specific item that Dash Inventor Extraordinaire does. And I just really like that. And I don't really know exactly how to explain my love for the deck, besides just saying I like just artifacts in Magic, and they're one of my favorite decks, and Flesh and Blood, this is the closest thing that you can get to that, and it's one of my favorite ways to, you know, do that. I don't really know how much better I can explain that, but yeah, I like Dash a lot. I like the Mechanologist class a lot. Then there's Viserai, who is in C tier. I like Viserai, and I like Rune Blades, but I don't, you gotta give me, like, a really good, like, if it's not one of the main classes I really enjoy playing, you gotta really, like, draw me in. You gotta add some big spice to that card, or to that hero, or to that deck that'll make me be like, ooh, you know? And just, Viserai doesn't have that spice. And, I mean, while he's a very fun and explosive deck, which is the kind of strategies that I like to do, he's not necessarily the most fun one in my mind. And you gotta really prove to me. You really gotta do something in order to make me really want to play Viserai. I won't ever, like, never play him, but I definitely will. You'll have to convince me to play him. Like, really want to build a deck for him. Then there's Kano, who's kind of in the same spot. I like Kano, because big, stupid combo, right? But I don't... See, I like control decks that disrupt the opponent, that make sure... Basically, the kind of control decks that keep aggressive strategies in line. I don't necessarily like the control strategies that just... Hey, it's your turn, but it's actually my turn. I don't like those decks a ton. I mean, I secretly like them, and I'm a very evil person when you give me one of those decks. But I don't like playing those decks, because while I have fun when I do play it, afterwards I feel like an evil, evil person. I feel like Emperor Palpatine that just, like, just gave out the orders for Order 66. I feel like a really, really evil person, and I don't like those kind of decks, and that's what Kano is. So, I mean, I like the cool combo, but beyond that, it's like, you really gotta, like, show to me, like, I don't know. I won't really play Kano that often, and I don't really see a reason for me to play Kano because of just that kind of, like, strategy of deck that, I mean, I like to play, but I don't like to play. Then, there is my favorite deck in the entire game, Sir Boltyn. I love Boltyn. I love Warriors again, and this is my favorite Warrior in the entire game. This is my main deck, my main, Boltyn. I love him. I've been building, I've had so many versions of Boltyn that I've been playtesting and tweaking and working for the last, like, how many months has it been? Way too many months. I've been building a Boltyn deck and trying to make him really good for a while now, and I just, like, Boltyn and Dory. I just, like, those two decks I've just been, like, really trying to make good so I can just, like, make them really, like, fun, competitive decks to bring down to the army and just beat my opponents down and just have some really fun, really tight and close games. And Boltyn is easily my favorite strategy in the entire game. He blocks really well. He's a good aggressive deck. He's a good go-wide deck. He can go big. And yeah, I love Boltyn. He's everything that I want in a deck, in a mid-range deck, and then some. I just love the character. I love the lore. I love everything about Boltyn, his character, his deck, everything. And his weapon. He has my favorite weapon. His main weapon is my favorite weapon in the entire game, Raiden, which is even better. That's the icing on the cake. So yeah, there you go. Then the other Monarch hero. Boltyn is a hero from Monarch, by the way. I didn't mention that. But the other Monarch hero that I do honestly really like is Levia. She is my favorite brute in the entire game. I forgot about Levia. Reinar is not my favorite brute in the entire game. It's Levia. I love this setup strategy. And I love just kind of... I like playing decks. This is something about me that, like, if you can tell, like, some of my more favorite decks in the game, in a lot of trading card games, I mean, like, my two favorite leaders on this list Bolton and Dory, are decks that aren't necessarily amazing, and they're not, like, really super competitively viable decks. They're still good decks, but they're not the best decks around, you know? And I like playing decks, and I like... decks intrigue me a lot if they're kind of like underdog decks. If they're decks that, like, you really gotta be smart, you gotta figure out all the combos and little strategies and all, like, the little tiny pieces of the puzzle. You gotta fit in every single little piece to make sure that it works right, and that's Levia to me. It's not the deck that I'd want to play all the time, necessarily, but the deck's always really intrigued me as a deck building challenge to try to make her really strong and do that big crazy thing that Ethan Vynnset does with Levia. That's always intrigued me about her, the deck, the character, and everything, and it's like, ooh, that's cool. It's not a deck that I like to play and really want to build, but it is a deck down the road, down the line, that I could definitely see myself building just because of the deck building challenge that it presents. Then getting into Uprising, big leap from Monarch to Uprising. Big leap. But there is Phi. Phi is a ninja, and he's going in D tier. I like Katsu more than Phi. Phi is a fun deck. If you're getting into the game and you're wanting to build like a deck that's very budget friendly and is very good and it's just a good beginner deck, Phi is a good deck, and I respect him for that. But there's a better option, Aurora. But I like Uprising. Uprising is one of my favorite sets in the game, and Phi is the reason for that, because he's just a cool character. He is a really... Ninjas, while their deck strategies aren't necessarily my favorite, they are badass characters. And Phi is a badass character. He's like a cool general... He's just... I love him. I love him. He's cool, like, as a character. Deck-wise, not necessarily. But he's a ninja. I don't like aggressive strategy, so he's in D tier. So he's not going to be one of my more favorite decks to play, you know? Then in a semi-similar sense, I have Arachne, which is not in D tier. You would never... I mean, you could see me playing Arachne, but it'd take a lot of convincing, which is why he's in C tier. Arachne, I love Assassins. Assassins, I think, are very cool. I love, like, very reactive decks in that sense, like attack reactions and whatnot. I do like those strategies to a point in Flesh and Blood. That's part of the reason why I love Warriors so much. And Arachne is a very fun version of that, but the deck wants to go wide, and it doesn't really go wide necessarily because of its massive struggles with Go Again. Now, there are ways to give your stuff Go Again in Arachne, but it's not enough to really convince me to play the deck over other Assassins that I would like to, and do like to, play more. So yeah, there you go. Then there is Azuri, which isn't necessarily one of my favorite decks in the game, but it is a deck that I have that I do really like to play when I get a chance to play her, because Azuri is just an amazing all-round, you know what, it's above Dash. Azuri is an amazing all-rounder deck. It does some interaction, it does some reaction, it does some defensive stuff. It's just a good bit of everything. It's got, I mean, I said it right there. It's got a good bit of everything. It's another one of those very good introduction decks, and it's a very good competitive deck. Like, you can get a very basic Azuri deck for very cheap. And if you want to go competitive, you can make a very finely and very busted tuned version of the Azuri deck. And I just like the deck strategy. I like the whole switching in. Like, that's a very cool concept in my mind that I haven't really seen a lot of. I mean, you see it to a point in some TCGs, but not like you do in Flesh and Blood. You come in with a little thing, and all of a sudden it's like, and a big dagger, a big cutter, like, it's just very thematically, like, it's cool. It's really cool, and it really, like, intrigues me, like, that kind of deck design. Like, you don't see stuff like that very often, and it just intrigues me in that sense. It's a very fun deck, it's a very cool deck, and it's an all-rounder deck. It's a good mid-range deck, and you know that I love those kind of decks. And I just like it. I just like it. Then there is Riptide. Riptide is a... Is he above Azuri? Yeah, he's above Azuri. He's not better than Azalea, but he is a ranger, and I like rangers a lot, and he is a better version of Azalea in the sense of, like, blocking capabilities, but he doesn't necessarily do... Okay. he doesn't do everything that Azalea does as far as, like, interaction explosiveness goes. He does like to, in the most competitive, the best lists of Riptide that I've seen, like to go wide more, which I like, but I like go big explosiveness more than go wide. And Riptide does go more wide, but he has some really good defensive options, and I like the deck a lot. He's a very, very good ranger in my mind. When he originally came out, I'm like, this guy seems really good. And he wound up not being good. I'm like, damn it, that sucks. And he kept getting tools, and he kept getting better, and he kept getting better. I'm like, see, my boy Riptide isn't that bad after all. I liked Azalea to a point more than Riptide at that time, but it's just like, Riptide I thought was a very cool character, and it was a very well-designed ranger, and I liked the deck. And I still like the deck, just not as much as Azalea, but as far as rangers go, I would say that he is a very, very well-designed and a very fun deck to play in nonetheless. Then there is Vynnset, who I honestly gotta probably put near the top of B tier. Vynnset is a very fun deck to play in my mind now that Rosetta has come out, because before, the whole banishing a card from your hand every turn to make a rune chant was an incredibly unfortunate downside that you couldn't really get a ton of value out of, but now you can get a lot more value out of it than you would have otherwise in previous years, even though she hasn't been out very long. I still like Vynnset a lot. She's very, very cool. She's very, very fun. And with Rosetta, she got a lot better, and she's just like, go massive, create a bazillion rune chants, and come in with a rune gate card, and then you come in with another, and you just do super cool stuff. She's not like Florian necessarily in that sense, where it's like rune chant bonanza, but I still like Vynnset a lot. Before Rosetta, she would have been like here. But now she's right here because she does a lot more of the go wide explosiveness that I love so much in decks, and that's why I like her. So yeah. Then getting to the other Dusk Till Dawn leader, I got Prism, which I gotta put near the top of C tier. I really think that Prism is a cool deck. But, holy crap, the last time that I looked at trying to build a Prism deck, it was expensive as hell. And while I think it would be a deck that I would really love to enjoy, I don't think I would enjoy it enough to spend the money on it. Now, granted, it's not necessarily a super expensive deck, but considering where, like, I've been at for the last couple of months as far as, like, expenses go and everything, I don't have necessarily, like, a ton of money to spare. And Prism requires me to have a good, decent amount of money to, like, spare. And I'd much rather take that money and put it towards making Dory deck better, a Bolting deck better, or build something like a Vynnset deck or something like that. And I mean, yeah, Prism is a cool deck, but you would really have to convince me to play her. Like, you'd really have to convince me about her deck and or whatever in order to make me want to spend the money to build her over other heroes. I like her strategy a lot, which would put her in B tier, but I put her in C tier because of the fact that I just don't really... There are other stuff that I would want to spend money on versus her, because she'd be a semi-bigger investment than most decks as far as like what I would want to build for her. Yeah. I can't really explain it super well because I don't really want to go into that kind of stuff, but Prism, very cool deck, very fun-looking deck, but I don't necessarily... Like, she's not the #1 deck that I'd want to build right now. Let's just go with that. Then getting into Bright Lights, I got Dash.io, which is... The second the set came out and I saw this character, I'm like, okay, this is my favorite mech in the game, and that is still true to this day. She is right there. I like the fact that you get to look at the top card of your deck every time, and you get to just, boom, interact, and you just, boom, and you get reactive, and you just... I like... Okay, so, here's the thing about, you know what, as I think about this more and more, I feel like this Dash should be at the top of B tier. I don't think I like the deck enough to where she should be in A tier. Like, I like the deck that I have for Dash, but I don't necessarily, like, want... I don't think she's one of my more favorite decks to play, and I like her a lot. I like this Dash.io, a lot more than Dash Inventor Extraordinaire. Let's go with that. I want to differentiate that because while I love both of these decks a lot, I want to make it clear that I like this deck a lot more than this deck. And because this deck recently got a ton of support in her Armory deck, and my god, is she a lot more fun to play than she used to be. And with this deck not being around in CC for much longer, I mean, she's still got a fair bit of life left in her, but she's not going to be around forever, you know? And this deck, this new Dash.io from Bright Lights, is going to be around a lot longer, and I like her for that sense, like, hey, I can build the Dash deck, and I can really enjoy this deck for a long time without, you know, it getting banned, and then me kind of like, oh, do I play this deck? I can't really, like, go to an Armory and play this deck, and I don't really want to play, you know? And I like the deck a lot for the fact that, like, I'll get some longevity out of it more than, Dash Inventor Extraordinaire, and I like the strategy for Dash.io a lot more than Inventor Extraordinaire, so there's that too. Then there's Maxx, who I gotta put in the bottom of C. I think that this version of Mech is a lot more like Ninja's, which I'm not necessarily a huge fan of, but I like him a little bit more than Ninja's because of the fact that, you know, he does still have some, like, cool setup and then some cool kind of construct the Nitro Mechanoid kind of setup mid-range game plan. I like that part of him a lot. But he reminds me a lot more of a Ninja than most other mechs because Mechanologists are a very aggressive class in a lot of senses. And that part of it, I'm like, about, you know, because aggressive strategies to me, it's not the biggest thing. But with Maxx, he's a lot more like a ninja than all the other Mechanologists, and I don't really like that quality of him. But the only reason that he is above the two ninjas that I've ranked so far is because of the fact that he does still have some, well, his main strategy, construct the Nitro Mechanoid, is still very mid-rangey, but overall, he is still a very aggressive deck. Then there's Teklevossen, who I like him a lot, but he's probably gotta be, like, around here. See, the thing with Teklevossen is he is the definition of setup for big payoff. And while I like that to a point, he's basically, you set up one massive machine to just create the biggest and baddest suit of armor in all of Flesh and Blood, and then you just send haymakers that's something like Bravo would. And quite honestly, I feel like you can block a lot, and almost as much in Bravo as you can in Teklevossen. Not armor-wise, Bravo blocks a lot less than Teklevossen as far as armor goes, but you can get a lot of block value out of just his defense reactions in just Guardian. He can get some out of the generics, and he's got a good armor suite. And Teklevossen, while to a point can have a much better armor suite than Bravo, he doesn't have the defensive capabilities in his main deck that I believe that Bravo does. And then the Haymaker side of things, the big, bad attackers that Teklevossen has, I feel like are worse than ones that Bravo has. Because while they're cheaper than Bravo's, I just like Bravo's more because I just feel like they're a lot more reliable, if that makes sense. And I don't know. I like the deck to a point, but it's not necessarily the number one thing that I'd be wanting to build. Let's go with that. Then getting into heavy hitters, I got Kasai, who is the only warrior that, well, not the only warrior, but she's the only warrior that I think is, like, an actual good warrior that I don't really, like, would want to, like, play as a main deck or a deck that I have that I really enjoy. I honestly think she's, like, right here in B tier. I like Kasai a lot, and I think she's very fun, but I feel like after some of the bans, she's a lot less fun than she was. I feel like one of the biggest cards in her entire deck, Cash-In, is gone now, and that's a pretty big loss for Kasai, quite honestly, because gold was one of the biggest payoffs for her, and drawing cards was a big thing in order to create gold and then get, you know, gold was a good thing. and drawing cards was a good thing, and cash-in was a way to do a bit of both. It was a way to take advantage of the gold that you create while drawing cards to allow you to create more gold and just do more of the cool stuff that Kasai does that I really like and enjoy. And with cash-in gone now, I feel like that just makes her a lot less fun. And realistically, like recently, I was deciding like what decks I've been working. I told all of you this earlier in the video, how I've been working on Bolton and Dory for a while, and I was deciding whether or not to build a good Dory deck or a good Kasai deck before making this video. And I wound up going with with Dorinthia, because Dorinthia, honestly, after building a deck, is a lot more fun looking and way cheaper than Kasai is. So, yeah, there you go. Kasai is still a very fun deck, but it's not necessarily one of my favorite decks, or a main deck of mine. Then there's Kaio, who I really, really enjoy. This is my favorite aggressive style deck in the entire game, because I have just some incredibly fond memories of pre-release with this guy. I'd say one of the best limited experiences I ever had was the first, like, really, truly incredible limited experience that Heavy Hitters brought all of us at the beginning of this year. And Kaio was the deck that I played in all of the pre-release events that I went to. I just always wound up playing Kaio, and every time I did, I just had an absolute freaking blast playing him. It was a very fun deck. I just loved Agile Windup, I think was the card. I just love that card so much, and I always wound up with a ton of it in Kaio, and it was so freaking fun. And honestly, like, I don't really want to put him above Kasai, but honestly, I think I gotta put him above Kasai. I see myself wanting to build this deck more than Kasai. Not necessarily for myself, but for my dad, just to see that, like, amazingness and that fun that I had in pre-release come to life again. Sure, it's up against me, but I can still enjoy it and reminisce about the fun limited experiences I had near the beginning of this year, you know? I don't have a Kaio deck right now, and down the line, I do want to build a Kaio deck really badly for my dad, just so that he can have those experiences that I had with Kaio, because god damn, they were fun. So yeah, there you go. Then there's Victor. He's right there. Victor is... Guardians kind of suck right now. They're not doing too good. They're not doing too good right now. And Victor is a deck... He's a very fun deck. I did, actually, there was one limited experience. I did play in one pre-release event for Heavy Hitters where I did play Victor. And I did have a ton of fun playing Victor in that limited event. And Victor, the deck that I built for him in Blitz a long while back, if you all can remember the days when I made Blitz videos, Victor was very fun. And I thought he was very fun. And in Classic Constructed, I haven't built a deck for him, but I've seen videos and I've seen gameplays with him, and it looks like a ton of fun. And I feel like that I would enjoy it, but it's just like I don't see myself doing it because there's so many decks that I want to build that are just above him. And it's just kind of the issue with a lot of these C-tier heroes. Not all of them, but Victor, Prism, Bravo, Teklavos, and Viserai. These 5 decks, I feel like, are all decks that I could definitely see myself building. But there are decks out there that do the thing that those decks do that I think are just more fun, which is why these decks just wound their way up into C tier, because a lot would have to happen to make me want to build one of those decks over one of the ones that's above, for the fact that it just does the thing that I want better. So, yeah, there you go. Then there's Olympia. I hate to say it, I love Warriors, but this is a terrible deck. I get that he got a lot of upgrades, impart the Mistveil, he got this Visit the Golden Anvil. I still don't like the deck. It's not the Warrior deck that I want. I mean, it's fun, and it's mid-rangey, and it's all-roundy, and all that kind of stuff, but it's just not the deck that I want. It's not the Warrior deck that I want to see, you know? And I mean, for a similar reason, Betsy, they're both just decks. They're both very much so worse versions of decks that are already out there, and they're just trying to make Wager work. And while Wager is super fun, an incredible limited mechanic in Constructed, Victor does it very well because it can allow you to draw cards, and that is awesome. But, well, no, that's clashing. Sorry, never mind. Forget what I said. But so, Wagering in Constructed is not good. It just isn't. And in Limited, it's a blast, but outside of that, it's just not. And these two leaders are trying to make it work, but it's just not gonna happen. Let's be honest, it's not gonna happen. I want to see it revisited down the line, but it's gonna need a lot of help. Then there's Nuu, who I would put probably at the top of this list. For A tier, not for S tier, but for A tier, Nuu from Part the Mistveil. I love Nuu. I love the character. I love the lore for Nuu, and I love I love the deck. It is my favorite assassin in the entire game by a mile. I love the reaction interactive. See, this is the deck where I can be an a-hole and I walk out like after that game and I don't feel bad about it. I should, but I don't. It's like the thing with Kano that's holding me back from really wanting to build him is because I don't want to be an a-hole and play on the opponent's turn. And while Nuu does something arguably way worse than that, than playing on the opponent's turn by basically saying, hey, you don't have a hand anymore, while that is a lot worse, especially in a game like Flesh and Blood, I have a lot more fun playing it, and I feel a lot less bad playing after the game's done. Which says a little bit too much about me, but I still like Nuu a lot, and she is a freaking so fun character. She is such a fun deck to play. Similarly in that sense, there's Enigma. I just love Part the Mistveil. It is still my favorite set in the game, very easily. And Enigma is a very fun deck because she is an illusionist that I can get behind. I'm like, okay, I built an Enigma deck, and I am still having a freaking hoot playing her. Now that freaking Zen can't do jack crap anymore, and he can, but he can't do what he did before. He can't OTK and all that BS. No, he's got to set up a lot more in order to do that kind of shenaniganry that he used to be able to do by just arsenaling a Art of War. And Enigma is, oh my god, she's so fun to play. And now with the biggest obstacle that was in her way out of the way, just a lot better deck. And then they're getting into Zen. That's not where he should be. No. I will never play Zen. I have built a Zen deck, but only for my dad. But I will never play Zen because, God, I have opinions about this guy. And I do not like playing against him. He is annoying. He is an annoying little piece of crap. Whew. I don't want to get into that. But I don't like Zen. Let's just go with that. He is so freaking cracked. His ability is so pushed. Let's get past that. Then there's Florian. Florian. Where do I put Florian? Let's put Florian right here. Florian is a very, very fun deck. And in Limited especially, my god, is he is a hoot in Limited. But in Constructed, he's still very good. And he's still a very fun deck, but he's a lot less fun than I thought he would be in Constructed. Let's just go with that. I guess that's all I can say about that. I mean, I got the top 5 decks that I like in CC. Bolton, Dory, Nuu, Enigma, and Azalea. Very easily my top 5 favorite decks to play in the entire game. And Florian, I thought would break that and get a little bit ahead and get past Azalea, but he didn't, which I thought is interesting. And I don't know, I like the whole mid-rangey, kind of super defensive, super setup, and a just big explosive side. But there's just something about it that's, I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is, but I just don't like it as much as those other 5 decks. Which is interesting, but there you go. I like him a lot, but he's not necessarily as fun as I thought he would be. Let's just go with that. Then there's Aurora. You want to talk about aggressive decks that I can get behind? This is one of them. This is above Kaio. This is, let's go right here. Because I don't want to build it for myself, but for the reason that I like Fi, I like Aurora. And Aurora is just the best. This is the best deck that to, like, introduce new players into the game with. I love Aurora. Aurora is my favorite introductory hero in the entire game, and I love the deck for that alone. I will build a deck, and a good deck, for her just based off of that alone, so that if I'm getting somebody new into the game, I will bring this Aurora deck, I will give it to them, and I'll say, hey, you and I, let's play some games. I won't, like, give it to them and they play that deck forever, you know? But I'll just, like, give them the deck, and I'll say, hey, you and I, let's just play some games. And I'll introduce them to the game with that deck. That is why I want to build an Aurora deck, and why it'd be in, like, A tier. Because of the fact that Aurora is just... Anybody in Classic Constructed who wants to get their friends into the game should build an Aurora deck, in my opinion, for what I just said. Just sitting them down, teaching them the basics, and just saying, hey, let's just play some good games, you know? Doesn't have to be a super expensive deck. It can be a budget deck. It can be just a very simple deck. But you still should build it. And I just love, she's so fun. She's so good. She's so good. Then getting past that, I got Verdance, which, let's go at the top of B. I like Verdance a lot. I did not think I'd like this deck as much as I do, but I do. And it's very fun. It is honestly a very, very fun deck to play. In Limited, I played against it 3 times, and every single time I'm like, man, I want to build that deck. I want to do that stuff, because that's fun. That is really fun looking, you know, to do. And while I don't see myself building a Verdance deck anytime soon, I could definitely see myself doing it down the line, because it just looks fun. It looks like a lot of fun, and it looks like I could do a lot of cool stuff with it. And, yeah, not in a similar sense to that, there's Auxilio, who is right here. Auxilio, see, I don't like wizards. I'm not necessarily a big wizard guy. And Auxilio, basically, I just don't like the deck necessarily a ton. I mean, I could see myself maybe building it down the line just because of the whole... I mean, there are parts of it that I do like. I do like the big combo explosive stuff that he can do, such as Kano. But I just don't see myself building that deck over a lot of other decks that are on this list that are above him. So that's why he's there in C tier. And lastly, there's Ira. Now, there is one, I didn't think that there would be a deck anytime soon that could compete with Ira, as far as like, hey, get new players into the game. But this Ira deck, for Classic Constructed at least, this deck competes with that, with, what's-her-face? With Aurora. And Ira, while being a ninja, I do really like, and honestly, like, she kind of deserves her own tier, like, B.5 tier, like, right here, basically. She deserves a tier, like, right here. And honestly, I'll put her at the top of B tier. I think that's where she deserves to be. I don't think she should be in A tier, because I don't think I'll build an Ira deck over... Did I say Azalea this whole time? Sorry if I said Azalea, or something else. Ira is a very, very good deck to get new players into Classic Constructed. I honestly think Aurora's better, but if you want to have two, Ira's a good second option. And I just like Ira a lot. I think of all the ninjas, she is definitely my favorite. She's the most fun-looking ninja to play. And while I wouldn't really ever see myself playing her for fun, I could definitely see myself building a deck for her, similarly to why I would build something like Aurora, to introduce new players into CC and get them comfortable with the game, and all that good stuff. But that is my tier list. Hope you all enjoyed this video. Hope you all make your own tier list, ranking all your heroes in Classic Constructed from favorite to least favorite, or Blitz, or Living Legend, or whatever. Leave a comment down below telling me your favorite hero in Flesh and Blood and why. Your favorite moment in Flesh and Blood that you've ever had. Your favorite experience, why you love this game, and just all around, just celebrate 5 years, 5 wonderful years of Flesh and Blood. So fall outside, make sure to hit that subscribe button, hit the like button, it's completely free, you won't regret it, and happy birthday to Flesh and Blood. Have a great rest of your day, everybody.